Hello everyone, my name is Kay and I welcome you to this video. I want to talk today and tell you about the day that I got lost on a woodsy hike. Showed me that I need to learn to pay attention. That seems obvious, doesn't it? Pay attention. I had been walking on a path that I had walked before. I thought I knew where I was. I knew that where the path went. In fact, it's a loop trail. So, I mean, how can you get lost on a loop trail where you begin and end at the same point, right? But I suddenly found myself somewhere I did not recognize. I had been walking along, daydreaming and looking at the birds and thinking about the bushes and the trees, and I just kind of like to do it that way. Then all of a sudden I came up on a shoreline. A shoreline? There wasn't supposed to be a shoreline on this hike. No, it wasn't supposed to be a shoreline on this hike. I mean, I knew that there were a couple of bayous and bays, but that's not where this hike was. And I looked, and I looked, and I looked, and I did not know where I was. That is a strange feeling. Have any of you ever experienced that where you wound up someplace that you did not know where you were? I've heard other people talk about something like this. I had heard someone talk about that they were going someplace, they were driving someplace. This was before the days when everybody had a cell phone and a GPS, but they were driving someplace and they knew the roads. They really knew the roads, just like I knew this path. And all of a sudden they were at a dead end. A dead end. This road goes through it. It's a through road. It doesn't have a dead end. Why were they at a dead end? So I know what this guy felt like, because here I am standing at the shoreline and there's supposed to be a shoreline on this hike and I don't know where I am. Why am I telling you this? Because so often in our life, we're walking along, we're living life, we're doing all the things that you do to live life, right? And you're not paying attention to where you're going. We're not paying attention to where we're going. And we wind up someplace we don't expect to be in our life. Well, in this case, what I did, of course, was look back at where I came from. It still didn't look familiar. Nothing looked familiar. I did not have a map. And in this case, the cell phone wasn't working. I had no signal. But I looked at the path behind me and I thought, okay, I'm going to hike back until I get to the first crossroads or the first turn or the first something. And then I'm going to see what happens then. So I did that. I walked back till I got to the first crossroads. And I was so confused by then. My mind was just all turned around. I didn't know where I was still, but I sat down. I sat down and got still and waited. What was I waiting for? Was I waiting for some voice out of the blue? Was I waiting for a messenger bird to come by? No, I was waiting for myself. I was waiting for my mind to clear because I knew that I knew this path. I knew that I knew where I was. I just didn't know. I just didn't have it in my consciousness. So often in our life, we don't pay attention to where we are. We don't pay, and we wind up someplace we're not expecting to be, or perhaps someplace we don't want to be. What's the solution? Well, the solution is to look for guide points. The solution is to begin to pay attention. Solution is to think about where we are. Now, other voices can help us get there, but the solution is to think about where we want to go. What is it that we want to achieve? What is it that we want to see in our life? And how do we begin to take steps to get there? So I knew that I wanted to get back on the known path, right? I knew that. So the only way I knew to do that was to turn around and take a step on the way I had come until I got back to a jumping off place, if you will, a crossroads, a turn, something that was where I must have gotten off the trail. And I did get to that point. Then you listen to yourself, or you get other voices to speak to you, or you sit down and you do what you need to do until you can get some clarity on where you want to go and how to get there. There are all kinds of ways to do that. You can go online, you can listen to podcasts, you can read, you can talk to people who are going, who have arrived in the direction that you want to go. Don't just ask anyone. Don't ask your crabby next door neighbor who's never done anything in his life. Ask someone who's actually progressing or has progressed in the direction that you want to go. Listen to those kinds of podcasts, read those kinds of books, get online and listen to them talking. Find your way. Get with other people that are headed the same way. Now, this particular trail I was on, I don't believe there was anyone else on this trail at the time that I was there. And that was okay because I knew that I knew. I just couldn't bring it to memory at the moment. So I sat down and I waited. I waited for my brain to clear, for my mind to clear. I waited for revelation to come. And it did. All of a sudden, just like it just dropped in, everything just broke up. I knew exactly where I was. I had taken a side trail. I hadn't taken that side trail before, so that's why it looked so unfamiliar. But I had taken a side trail, and I was now sitting at the corner of the side trail and the main trail. That's what I needed to know. And I needed to know which way to go. Now, I've already said it was a loop trail. So I could have gone either way, of course, and eventually gotten to where I wanted to go. But it was getting a little bit later in the afternoon, and I really didn't want to walk the long way. I'd rather walk the shorter way because I was more than halfway. So I waited until I was sure which direction was the shorter way to get to the starting point. And eventually, and I did. It was very clear in just a few minutes, probably took about 10 minutes. Felt like 30 or 40, but it was about 10 minutes for my mind to clear because I had gotten so confused at the shoreline. I thought I was one place, and I kept trying to think that was where I was, and it wasn't. I was someplace I'd never been before because I had never taken that side trail before. How many times do we take side trails in our life, huh? How many times do we wind up someplace we've never been and we're so confused trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense because we don't know what it is? Listen, if you need some help or finding your way, if you need some help, somebody to talk to help guide you to a clearer understanding of where you want to go, give me a call. I am a coach. I work with the John Maxwell team. I'm a professional coach. I'd love to talk with you. You can contact me at destinytoday.net. God bless.